I'm Valerie. I'm standing in a courtroom, facing my brother Ethan. The air is thick with tension, and the weight of the situation presses down on me. The judge is about to deliver her verdict, and I can feel my heart pounding in my chest. It all started a few months ago. I live in Seattle, Washington, and I work as a project manager for a large software company. It's a demanding job, but I love it. I'm also a single mom to my 12-year-old daughter, Ava. She's my world, and I do everything I can to give her a good life. My mother, Eleanor, lives in a small town called Pinewood, Oregon. She's 78 years old and has been showing signs of early-stage dementia. 2 years ago, when her condition started to worsen, Ethan, who lives just 15 minutes away from Mom, was appointed her legal guardian. I agreed to it because it seemed like the logical thing to do. He was close by and I was hundreds of miles away. I trusted Ethan. Every month, I sent him $1,500 to help cover Mom's expenses. Groceries, medical bills, and the part-time caregiver he said he'd hired. Every Sunday, I called Mom on her tablet for a video chat. It was our routine. But about 3 months ago, those Sunday calls started becoming more and more difficult. Ethan always had an excuse. She's taking a nap, he'd say. Or, she had a rough day. Maybe next week. I told myself it was just the dementia getting worse. I didn't want to believe there was something more sinister going on. One morning, I got a call from Mrs. Jenkins, Mom's next-door neighbor. She's an 80-year-old retired schoolteacher. Her voice was trembling. Valerie, your mother's house has been dark for 2 days. I haven't seen her. My heart skipped a beat. I called Ethan right away. I called him 6 times, but he didn't pick up. On the 7th call, he finally answered. What? He snapped. Ethan, Mrs. Jenkins says Mom's house has been dark. Where is she? I asked, my voice full of worry. She wandered off. I'm taking care of it. Stop overreacting, he said, and hung up. I knew Mom couldn't wander off. She needed help just to get around the house. Something was very wrong. I opened the Find My app on my phone, which I'd installed on Mom's tablet a year ago. That represented her tablet was gone. It had been offline for 3 days. I knew I had to go to Pinewood. I called my boss and told her it was a family emergency. She understood and gave me the time off. I called my best friend, Sarah, and asked if Ava could stay with her. She agreed without hesitation. I caught the next flight to Portland and then rented a car to drive to Pinewood. When I pulled into Mom's driveway, it was like a scene from a horror movie. The grass was overgrown and the mailbox was stuffed with mail. I used the spare key under the flower pot to get inside. The house smelled stale. The refrigerator was empty, except for a half-eaten carton of yogurt that had gone bad. The pill organizer on the kitchen counter was full. Mom was supposed to take her blood pressure and dementia medications every day, but it looked like she hadn't taken them in days. I also found an envelope on the kitchen table. It was from a place called Meadowbrook Assisted Living. The letter inside was addressed to Eleanor Thompson, Mom's maiden name. No one had told me she'd been moved. I drove to Ethan's house. It was a nice house in a new subdivision. He opened the door in his pajamas, a beer in his hand. You didn't need to come all the way here, he said, his eyes cold. Where is Mom, Ethan? I demanded. She's in a good place. She needed 24/7 care, and I couldn't do it anymore, he replied. What place? What's the name and address? I asked. He scratched his head. I can't remember. It's somewhere near the lake. You can't remember the name of the place where our mother is living? I was incredulous. He squared his shoulders. You live so far away, Valerie. You just send money and think you're involved. I'm the one who's been taking care of her. Behind him, I saw his wife, Lisa. She was standing in the hallway, looking pale and uncomfortable. Ethan, just tell her where Mom is, she said softly. He ignored her. Go home, Valerie. I've got this under control. I stepped back. I'm not leaving until I see Mom with my own eyes. He slammed the door in my face. The next day, I went to the local bank where Mom had an account. I asked to see her bank statements, but the bank manager told me that Ethan, as the legal guardian, was the only one authorized to access the account. She gave me a look that made me think she knew something was wrong. I started going through Mom's house, looking for any clues. In the attic, I found some old bank statements from a year ago. The balance was $450,000. That was Mom's life savings from selling her old house and her pension. I knew I needed help. I searched online for an elder law attorney in Pinewood and found Mr. Harris. He was a middle-aged man with a kind face. I told him everything that had happened, and he listened intently. "This is a clear case of possible elder exploitation," he said. "We need to file a report with Adult Protective Services and get a subpoena for your mother's bank records." I called the Adult Protective Services hotline that afternoon. The intake worker took down all the details and said they would start an investigation right away. A few days later, I got a call from the APS investigator, Ms. Rodriguez. She told me that they couldn't find Mom under her legal name in any of the licensed care facilities in the area. I remembered the letter addressed to Eleanor Thompson. I realized that Ethan had registered her under her maiden name to make her harder to find. With the help of Mr. Harris, we got the subpoena for Mom's bank records. A forensic accountant, Ms. Lewis, was hired to look into the accounts. When the bank statements arrived, Ms. Lewis spent weeks analyzing them. She called me into her office to show me what she'd found. Over the past 15 months, approximately $380,000 has been transferred from your mother's accounts, she said, pointing to a timeline on her computer screen. Most of it went into Ethan's personal accounts and an LLC he owns called Thompson Hospitality. There were also large ATM withdrawals, and a significant portion of those transactions can be traced back to online gambling platforms. I was shocked. "He's been stealing Mom's money?" "Yes," she said. "And he's been billing her account for more than the actual cost of her care at Meadowbrook Assisted Living. He's been pocketing the difference." We also found that the signature on the admission form at Meadowbrook was different from Mom's usual signature. It was either forged or coerced. Ethan didn't take the investigation lying down. He started spreading lies about me and the family. He told our aunts, uncles, and cousins that I was trying to steal Mom's money and that I was the one causing all the problems. Aunt Mildred called me, crying. "Valerie, Ethan says you're trying to take Mom's money. Why would you do this?" I tried to explain, but she wouldn't listen. "He's been taking care of Mom. You've been so far away," she said. I felt so alone. But I knew I had to keep going for Mom's sake. The day of the court hearing finally arrived. The courtroom was small and stuffy. I sat at one table with Mr. Harris and Ms. Lewis. Ethan and his attorney, Mr. Black, sat at the other table. Behind us were Ms. Rodriguez from APS and Lisa. Aunt Mildred was also there, sitting on Ethan's side. The judge, Judge Anderson, entered the courtroom. She was a no-nonsense woman in her 60s. "This is an emergency hearing regarding the guardianship of Eleanor Thompson," she said. "The petitioner, Valerie, seeks the revocation of Ethan's guardianship and an injunction for protection against exploitation." Mr. Harris stood up. "Your Honor, over the past 15 months, Ethan has transferred approximately $380,000 from Eleanor's accounts to his personal accounts and a business he controls. He has also relocated Eleanor to a care facility under her maiden name, effectively isolating her from her family." Mr. Black stood up. "Your Honor, my client has been the primary caregiver for Eleanor for the past 2 years. The transfers were for Eleanor's medical and living expenses, and the relocation was in her best interest." Judge Anderson looked at him. "Authorized by whom?" "Eleanor has dementia and cannot consent to these financial transactions." Mr. Harris called Ms. Lewis to the stand. She presented the forensic report, showing the detailed timeline of the transfers and withdrawals. "The money was not used for Eleanor's care," she said. "It was used for personal expenses and gambling." Mr. Black tried to discredit her, but Ms. Lewis was firm in her testimony. Next, Ms. Rodriguez took the stand. She described the APS investigation and how they had difficulty finding Eleanor because of the false name used at the care facility. "Eleanor was in poor condition when we found her," she said. "She was underweight, and her medication records showed gaps." Mr. Harris then entered the admission form into evidence. Your Honor, this form lists no other living relatives, even though Valerie is Eleanor's daughter and has been trying to reach her. Judge Anderson turned to Ethan. Mr. Thompson, can you explain why your mother was registered under a different name? Ethan's face turned red. It was a mistake. The facility asked for her maiden name. Judge Anderson was not convinced. A mistake that also lists no other living relatives? Your sister has been trying to find her mother for weeks. Ethan had no answer. After all the testimony, Judge Anderson took a moment to consider. Then she spoke. It is the order of this court that Ethan Thompson's guardianship of Eleanor Thompson is hereby revoked, effective immediately. Emergency temporary guardianship is granted to Valerie. All accounts associated with Eleanor Thompson are frozen pending further review. This matter will be referred to the State Attorney's Office for criminal investigation. I felt a wave of relief wash over me. Ethan sat there, his face blank. Lisa looked at me with a sad expression. Aunt Mildred looked down, ashamed. After the hearing, I went to Meadowbrook Assisted Living to see Mom. When I walked into her room, she was sitting in a chair by the window. She looked up when she saw me. Valerie, she said, her voice weak. Yes, Mom. I'm here, I said, sitting down next to her and taking her hand. She squeezed my hand. I knew you'd come. Over the next few weeks, I made arrangements to move Mom to a memory care facility near my home in Seattle. I also started the process of converting the emergency guardianship into a permanent one. Ethan's life started to fall apart. The church removed him from the deacon board. His mortgage went into default, and his house was foreclosed. Lisa filed for divorce. The IRS also started an audit on Thompson Hospitality because of the unreported income. Mom settled into her new home. She was happier and healthier. Ava visited her every weekend, and they would sit in the garden, looking at the flowers. I know that I made the right decision. Protecting Mom was more important than keeping the peace in the family. I learned that you can't turn a blind eye when someone you love is being hurt. If you're in a similar situation, don't wait. Trust your instincts and take action. Because in the end, the people we love are worth fighting for.